So I just finished Season 2, Episode 7 of Peacemaker, and I'm going to ask you to bear with the Dead by Daylight gameplay in the back, because wow is Warner Brothers aggressive with the copyright strikes whenever you post any clips of their episodes. But yeah, this episode was wild, it was very entertaining, and I just kind of want to take a few minutes to discuss my thoughts not only on the episode, but what I've thought about Season 2 of Peacemaker as a whole, and just the DCU as it stands, because this is something that I am passionate about, and something that I would like to talk about more in depth in the future. Peacemaker Season 2, up until this point, and even Season 1 by extension in some aspects, is pretty entertaining, but doesn't always work if you are trying to watch the show through a logical lens. Now, what I mean by this is if you just go into it with your brain turned off and don't try to think too much about what is happening in front of you, it is a very enjoyable watch and there's a lot of fun to be had. But especially in Season 2 with them doing interdimensional travel and going to alternate universes and multiverses and different versions of characters, things don't always make a lot of logical sense. And while I think that doesn't have to make perfect logical sense, because it is a comic book TV show, a comic book story, for me at least, it feels like there's a bit of a disconnect because I prefer the stories that I watch to make some form of logical sense. But this episode in particular threw me for a loop because on one hand, I really enjoyed it, but on the other, I'm just like, there is so much going on that I don't even really know how to follow everything and make sure that everything's staying in line. So I thought the idea of the Nazis winning and them having like an alternate universe where things changed accordingly to that was interesting, but it's something that I wish we got to see explored over the span of like at least 2 episodes instead of all of it being slammed into one episode and then being tied up at the end. And one of the examples I can give of me not really being able to follow the show too logically is I know Alternate Dimension Vigilante hates Peacemaker because he is a Nazi and supports that line of thinking and is just a terrible human being overall, but did he not know that Peacemaker's dad wasn't really the same, or did he not really care? He just wanted to kill him regardless. So when he jumps through that window and stabs Peacemaker's dad to death, a part of me was like, okay, that's shocking and it's just entertaining on the surface to watch this unfold and all this carnage just happen all at once. But the second I step back and try and break down what is happening, everything is happening so fast and there are so many complex things that deserve their own episode, or at least a far longer episode, that it's really hard for me to understand them as like one full cohesive story. And I think this is something that all of the DCU projects that I've watched so far have suffered from. Creature Commandos, Superman, and the first two seasons of Peacemaker at this point all have the same issues for me, where they are really fun and James Gunn really understands the core of these characters and the story that he wants to tell. But it feels like there is no one to pull him back and I guess edit some things out, because to me right now it very much feels like he's been given full freedom to do whatever he wants with the DCU, and that makes all of the products really entertaining, but doesn't make them work logically for me all the time. And that's definitely something holding it back, and I wish James Gunn in the future will pull back more on the carnage that occurs in his stories and slow down and like really focus on the nitty-gritty details of everything. Because if he were to do that, I think not only Peacemaker, but the DCU would be better for it. But back to Season 2, Episode 7 for a second. The final 10 minutes of this episode were really enjoyable, but things were moving at such a rapid and fast pace that I found it kind of hard to fully grasp what the story was trying to tell me. I wonder if this would feel better upon a rewatch, and maybe that just isn't what James Gunn is going for. But unfortunately, I'm stuck in this weird position with Peacemaker Season 2 in this episode in particular, where I enjoyed it on the surface, but I feel like if there was a little bit more refinement, it could just be so much better. And this could have been taken from a really fun story to a truly magnificent story that had a lot to tell. But I will say the caveat to that is I really do think the development for Peacemaker specifically has been phenomenal throughout both seasons. It's a man who is trying to change for the better, but keeps walking right into the pitfalls of his own character and discovering the issues that he's had and has never properly dealt with, and realizing that there are just some things in him that are broken that he can't just force close or force open. He actually has to deal with them properly and heal. And that has been a really interesting part of both Season 1 and Season 2, and I hope that's something that continues for the remainder of the DCU. But yeah, with all that being said, if you like this video, let me know in the comments down below. Just a different kind of little rant. I just wanted to get my quick thoughts about the story, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Peace.